Hey everyone, it's Lance from Christianity Minute. Jesus has just started his sermon that's recorded in Luke. Remember, this is not the Sermon on the Mount, although many similar themes are brought up. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out this video from last time. And please subscribe so you don't miss another video on our journey through Luke. Jesus is standing in front of the masses and is really starting this sermon with a bang. He's getting the crowd really interested by the things that he's saying. These blessings that he's pronouncing are directly focused on the people who are listening, with the exception of the priests who are also there. He didn't forget about them, though. His next statements, while not overtly targeted at them, certainly are not so subtle that he's comparing a people diametrically opposed to his beatitude statements that he had just stated. Luke chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. Woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you shall be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Woe to you when all people speak well of you, for so their fathers did to the false prophets. Again, if you missed our last video, go watch it first and then come back to this one. These verses are, again, a direct contrast to the blessings that he had just proclaimed. He starts off pronouncing a woe to the rich. As we discussed last week, the rich are the people who take stock in their wealth and earthly things. The ESV that I have on your screen right now says the word consolation. The King James also says this word, while the NIV uses the word comfort. I really like this translation better. If you were to take that word out of context and look it up in a Greek dictionary, it more accurately is translated as encouragement. Okay, so he's not saying that the rich can't get into heaven. Is it more difficult? Yes. Jesus did say that. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. Wait, that's impossible. It sounds more like Jesus is writing off the rich altogether. Well, does that mean that I have to become completely destitute in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, kind of like the priests and the nuns and all them do? Don't I have to have some worldly possessions and wealth in order to survive in this world, especially here in America? The next two verses, so the very same conversation and the same thoughts of Jesus, give us the answer. All things are possible through God. Okay, so the rich that he's talking about here are the ones who not just simply possess wealth, but put their stock into it. Remember that translation of encouragement? They put their faith in their possessions. It's the same concept of the rich man from Luke chapter 12, verses 16 through 20. It reads, "And he told them a parable, saying, The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" Now, I don't want to go too deep into this parable, as we're going to get there. But Jesus describes a man who has great wealth, and he puts so much faith in that wealth that he tells his soul in verse 19 to be comforted in those things. Life is good, and it's gonna be good for a long time. God then calls him a fool. Where did the wealth get him? In Jesus' sermon back in Luke chapter 6, a woe is pronounced upon the man because he has no faith in God. He had his comfort, his consolation in this life. And he squandered that comfort when he could have had so much more if he had put his treasures in heaven instead. Woe to those who are full, and woe to those who laugh now, because you'll be hungry and you will weep. Again, Jesus referring to more the spiritual aspect. One doesn't need to go hungry to be a child of God. We must never be satisfied spiritually, always seeking more, and always searching out more of God. You know, this Bible right here, it really is amazing to me that every time I look at it, I learn something new. I've been studying the Bible now for years, and it's still fresh. It's still new to me. There's always more to learn. I can flip through these pages. There's always more to understand. The depth of knowledge in this book is awesome. Those who just move about life, they never really understand the angst of needing to know more. They never understand weeping for the lost world, and they just aren't fit for the kingdom of heaven. Woe to those people, Jesus says. Then we get to the last woe recorded in the sermon. Okay, this one is a little different. He's talking about the people spoken well of. What's wrong with being respected or being wished well? Jesus has already provided a perfect illustration. Back in Matthew chapter 6 and verse 5, he says, "And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in their synagogues and at their street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they've received their reward." Here's a direct jab to the priests. They loved being praised by the people and being held in high regard. Sure, they thought that they were being the shining example for the people, but they were letting it get to their heads. That praise from the people was a currency to them, and they loved to be rich in it. And they took great comfort in that wealth and that control over the people. Jesus' sermon is not going to get any more comfortable for the priests, though. Jesus is about to say some things that are new and different from the law of Moses. But quite frankly, it still fits comfortably within the law of Moses. Jesus' message of peace, kindness, and love is about to be put out there, and the foundations of Christianity are being laid. Don't miss it in our next episode. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the analysis of this sermon. In talking about the hypocrite on the street corner, there's another parable of Jesus that would have also worked really well. Which do you think it might have been? Take a guess in the comments section below. Feel free to share any part of this video, and if you'd like to donate, there are links in the description. If you'd like to keep learning more, check out some of my other videos on your screen. And I'll see you next time right here on Christianity Minute.